Dr. Khachikyan, thank you for being here today. We have some questions you want to address. So today the Secretary General of the European Council is here. At the same time, in Armenia, we live in a reality that we have numerous political prisoners, with some of them being captured only 2 weeks ago for basically speaking. What do you have to say about this?
It's very strange. I think this should be addressed. This was supposed to be a velvet revolution, a velvet democracy, and those people who did that, one of the things they did was they broke into the building of the state radio. So for them to prosecute people based on hooliganism charges is very ironic. I was part of that interview, and the guys used some strong language, but that does not amount to a reason for people to be arrested, especially in such a brutal manner. This would not have happened anywhere. This would not have happened in Europe or in the United States. And I'm wondering why all those NGOs and human rights watchdog organizations are silent, because this is a very clear violation of any conceivable norm of free speech.
Talking about the silence of Europe and United States, if something like this happened in their countries, it would be a shock, it would be a breaking news. But now, as it happens in Armenia, in a country which democracy they seem to celebrate, they are silent. What do you think the reason is? Are they not being aware of the situation, or are they specifically electing to ignore the circumstances?
Well, if this happened to Navalny, God bless his soul, this would have been on CNN, BBC, and Reuters and Deutsche Welle every day, 50 times a day. But sadly, because it's not their guy, they're silent. They're ignoring this, and this is not the first case. It's very hypocritical, and I think these double standards are very unfortunate. They're doing a lot of damage to the credibility of the so-called civilized world community and the West.
Talking about our political prisoners, when Armen Ashtian was captured, European People's Party, the biggest political family of Europe, made numerous press releases, resolutions, recognizing and acknowledging him as a political prisoner. And EPP was not the only one. Many other institutions did so as well. So how come the pro-European government of Armenia, that seems to do everything possible to fit in with Europe, ignores the decision and the voice of the biggest European political family?
Because the European organizations and institutions are not putting any pressure on them, because he's their guy. We're not even discussing the fact that 120,000 Armenians were ethnically cleansed. I haven't even heard that term from any European organizations. I think it's very unfortunate, it's very disappointing, because we believed for a moment that there is such a thing as international community, the European community, European values, democracy, human rights, and it all came to this beautiful lie that we believed in 6 years ago.
And unfortunately, we have only not prisoners in Armenia, but there are also Armenian citizens that are being illegally kept in Azerbaijan, and seems Europe is quite on that as well. What in the future we can anticipate on this behalf?
Well, I haven't heard of anything that they were doing. Yes, they are dependent. They're dependent on Aliyev for their gas and oil. Ms. Ursula makes no secret of it. Even after Karabakh was ethnically cleansed, they repeated that Azerbaijan is their reliable partner. There's not a word being said about ethnic cleansing. Nothing is being said about POWs who were supposed to be released 3 years ago, according to a treaty we signed. So again, sadly, it's all about double standards, and it's all about interests that drive foreign policy of any country, and including Europe and the United States. Sadly, that's the reality of it.
And talking about Ms. Ursula, only a few days ago, Armenian PM Pashinyan met her and Secretary Blinken in Brussels. Are there any takeoffs about prisoners in Azerbaijan or prisoners in Armenia that we can make from that meeting, or was it just for another topic completely?
I haven't heard anything said about POWs or about the prisoners, the leaders of the Artsakh Republic who are imprisoned now in Azerbaijan. I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't heard anything about ethnic cleansing. I haven't heard anything about the right of Karabakh Armenians to return to their homes. Nothing. All I've heard was that bit about limited financial assistance, which is great, but it doesn't really change much. And most of it will probably be used to sponsor those quote human rights watchdogs in Armenia that were completely silent when all these violations took place. So for me it was really very disappointing.
And last but not least, Dr. Khachikyan, what are the key actions that have to be taken to bring these topics back to our agenda? What we have to do as a nation, as a republic, and as people?
We have to look at the record of the past 6 years. It was a record of basically Armageddon for Armenia. And people have to realize that surrendering their country, surrendering their people bit by bit is not going to make them safe and is not going to make them prosperous. It's very dangerous. And looking at the record of this regime, I think that the first step, the essential step, would be to replace them with a competent government that is capable of leading us out of this disaster.